disappear. They're never gonna take you very far, very far. Through the hills, through the deserts, the valleys and the plains. There'll be times on your journey when you lose everything you've gained, and your faith will start to waver when it takes you just as far as it can go. You let go that you may live till you see something of a beacon through the haze, through the haze. The dark night of the soul descends upon the one who finds the light. The world it calls, you lose control to something of a memory from the night, from the night. The world calls your name, and you turn to see if something's left behind. Then you know there's nothing there for you, and you free another portion of your mind, of your mind. The long search begins here. It doesn't really matter where you are. The old ways, they disappear. They're never gonna take you very far. You must go beyond the dark night of the soul. Beyond the dark night of the soul. Well, I want to just start out by saying to our YouTube audience, I really appreciate all of you. I don't really interact with you as I would like to, as much as I would like, or I don't know how to do it, I guess. It's kind of a one-way communication, but you see me and I can't see you. I wish I could. But I want to thank our new friend Robert from Holland, who says he looks forward to seeing this program every week. And I know we have people all over the country. I know you're from all over the country out there in YouTube land. So I just want to thank you for your support and for your attention, and know that you're an important part of this ministry, even though we don't always say that. But we show it because we keep putting this up. We keep making it available, and it's a service that I am totally amazed by. In fact, when I open up the statistics, I see that we even get visits from China. I don't know what they're up to, but we get them. We get them. So I'm sure that they are wanting to learn more about true things. So, all right. I want to share with you a photo, two photos actually. This is Beth and I in New York in 1998, and I intended to show this last week as just a memory of 9/11, and that we were there while the Twin Towers were still up, and we did a tour of New York, and we were actually there under the Twin Towers, and it's just inconceivable that those could have been taken down like they were. But we were there because I was invited to be the keynote speaker at a unity retreat that was held at a monastery a convent in New Jersey. It was a 3-day affair, and I think I was talking about my book, Practical Guide to Prosperous Living, and they also asked me to bring my guitar, so we sang. One lady wanted me to sing Achy Breaky Heart, and I didn't know that one. But I would have sang it, I just didn't know it. But anyway, we were there, and I was very apprehensive about going, as I probably would be today if back up there. It's a different place, I think, than when we were there. But it was an incredible experience. I was very, to the point where I thought maybe I should buy one of those wallets with a chain hanging on it, and you hook it on your belt, and because we're surely going to get mugged. But it was an incredible experience, and the people were just outstanding, and friendly. And we were walking around downtown one time with a map, and this policeman comes up, very gruff. He says, "What do you got there? What are you doing?" He said, "Put that down." And I thought we were going to be arrested for looking at the map, but he says, "Where do you want to go?" And he started telling us how to get where we wanted to go. It's just that gruff New York accent, and it was, but it was, one of the people at the retreat gave us a VIP pass to CBS Studios. So we sat on the front row of Conan O'Brien's show. He came up and was just a few feet away talking to us, and great big guy. But we just had an incredible experience, and I got to know people. We would take a bus from New Jersey into New York every day to the touring section, the bus touring section. First day our bus got sideswiped, but that was okay. We just got on another bus. But it was just you have a perception about something, and it's always such a wonderful thing when life tricks you, in that regard, because it's one of the most memorable experiences we've ever had. And I treasure these photos because I didn't, nobody knew what was ahead. This was 1998, and but it's things like this that I forgot I was there. I forgot that whole experience until we ran into this. But there's so much of our life that's like that, and that's why it's so important to think of your prayer life as a process of changing yourself. So Jesus said, and I think this is kind of a key, especially if we're in the habit of using affirmations, and I'll talk about that in just a minute, but when you're praying, do not heap up empty phrases as the Gentiles do, for they think that they will be heard because of their many words. Do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask Him. There's a lot more to that statement than we might think, just viewing it from the surface. When we pray, the tendency is to heap up words, is to I grew up memorizing prayers. You know, you memorize certain prayers. We all memorize the Lord's Prayer. We probably memorized the 23rd Psalm, and these are great affirmations. I've done the series on the Lord's Prayer and the 23rd Psalm several times, and there's a lot in that combination of words that we can easily pass over. I told the story before that the very first funeral I ever did, I was terrified of doing it because I had no idea why someone like me would be at a funeral trying to comfort people, because I didn't know anything about any of the grieving thing or anything. But anyway, one of the things I did was I included the Lord's Prayer, and everybody there apparently was Catholic, and I had my version written out, and I just started saying it, and they took off, saying it just like a machine, like somebody put a quarter in and it started playing, and it just totally caught me off guard because I was nervous in the first place. But it also helped me relax. It was so funny. I mean, it was just totally funny. And I've thought about that many times. What did that prayer mean to that group, to those people? They were familiar with it. They all knew it. But it was like, you put the quarter in and it plays, and then you go on to the next thing. So it was. There's a lot to the words that we use in our prayers that have been laid out for us. In other words, there's always more to them than what our memory allows us to delve into. So it's important to be conscious of what we're doing. And I think that's kind of what he's saying here. Don't heap up empty phrases as the Gentiles do. And the Gentiles, of course, were anyone that was not a Jew back in those days. But the other important thing is here, your Father knows what you need before you ask him. There's a support system here, and prayer is the process of tuning into that, of learning to tune into that. So it's important that the reason we would heap up empty phrases is to get God's attention or to change God's mind. God, I'm down here suffering. You know that, don't you? And here's what I would kind of like to have happen, like as if the Lord wouldn't know. But what if you took the approach that there is an intelligence in you that knows exactly what you need, and maybe that's not in alignment with what you think you need. So maybe prayer is allowing yourself to be changed, to be open-minded about, if the Father knows I have need even before I ask, maybe he's willing to share that. Maybe that's information that could be forthcoming if I'm open and receptive and stop trying so hard to get the answer I think I should have. So, as I've said many times, prayer means to make an adjustment, but it's not adjusting God. It's adjusting ourselves to how God works, and that's a very important distinction. And Emmet Fox, who's a pretty profound writer, was a pretty profound writer and a real influence on support groups, who picked up his book, Sermon on the Mount. He said, merely to repeat a phrase mechanically as a parrot does is of no use at all. We do not have to create good, for it already exists eternally in the fact of the omnipresence of God. So that's what we may be trying to do with our prayers, trying to create good. We visualize, we picture, and try to make things happen as we envision. But it's, Jesus said, let thy will be done, not mine. And it's not that having a dream or a vision is not a good thing. But as I have always said, as I picked up from Catherine Ponder, say this or something better. This or something better. Hold your vision, but say something better could be unfolding. I allow that to happen. I'm adjusting myself to the something better. I'm opening myself to that possibility. So when you pray, it's important to remember that prayer changes you, not God. God, the creative life force, is always in full action. Nothing you say will cause God to act more aggressively or more precisely in your life. And I think that we live under that belief in some ways it's probably a carryover, that if I pray, if I center myself, if I meditate, that God will treat me a little differently, or God will behave a little differently, and I'll have another outcome, a different outcome in my life. But what if God is already behaving as God always has and always will? You put it in that perspective. It's like gravity. You go down, trip, you fall down. Gravity is behaving just the same as it always has. But you tripped. You did something that caused you to stumble. So you would not pray to gravity to, would you mind not doing that to me? Would you mind being a little more careful? Because if gravity could talk, it would say, well, I'm just doing what I do. You got to watch your step. So it's more about us watching our step. It's about changing ourselves, or allowing ourselves to change. So nothing you say will cause God to act more aggressively or more precisely in your life. Prayer is the process of aligning yourself with the action of God. So kind of a way to think of this, if you stand on the upper rim of a canyon wall and you pray that gravity will enable you to spread your arms and glide to the canyon floor, this would never happen. Well, it may happen to Diane. She could probably ascend down to the canyon floor just fine. But the rest of us would probably need help in some way. The law of gravity, which is present, active, and fully complete, would not permit you to do this. You can, however, soar to the bottom using a hang glider. Or have you ever seen those squirrel suits? They call them squirrel suits, where the guy looks like a flying squirrel. That would be quite a heart stopper, one way or the other, probably. And it may make a mess. I don't know. Who knows? The act of understanding and cooperating with existing laws enables you to behave in ways that put you in harmony with these laws. So, when Jesus said, I didn't come to break the law, I came to fulfill it. That to me is like the guy on the hang glider. And I'm not sure I'd want to try one. Part of me would like to do that. Although I was invited to do a wedding while parachuting one time. And I thought, I've got 2 little kids, and I've got a wife and a career. And I always thought I would like to do that until I was actually presented with that opportunity. And I thought, for whatever they're trying to do with this special wedding, I don't think it's worth it, for me. So I opted out. But to call me a coward, I know some people would do it. But when it's put right on the table, and maybe for some of you, you've done that, and it's not as big a deal as you think. But you're not breaking the law by jumping on a hang glider. You are fulfilling the law. You're cooperating with the way gravity works. So it's not breaking it. And you see the difference. You can do things with help by cooperating with the laws of gravity. And it may take a machine. We can't fly. I think that was one of the arguments when the airplane started appearing, is if man was meant to, if people were meant to fly, God would have given us wings. But isn't that what the airplane is? It's our God-given wings. It's like, so it manifests in a way that maybe isn't natural, but to fly a jet is not unnatural. Otherwise it wouldn't work. It wouldn't fly. The whole machine is fulfilling the law of gravity. It's not breaking a law. But if you just think from the perspective that if I was meant to fly, I would have wings, then you'll never fly. You'll never get on an airplane, probably. But you are capable of doing that, and you're not going to break any laws. Maybe if you get on a plane thinking that you're sinning because you're doing that, that could be a problem. I don't know. But I think that's what Jesus was talking about. I'm not here to break the law. I'm here to fulfill it. And to fulfill it in other people's eyes looked like he was breaking it. For example, when he was feeding people on the Sabbath, that was illegal. Or when he was gathering wheat, in the just to eat himself. That was considered illegal. He was saying, no, there's a larger process at work here. There's nothing that's going to condemn me for doing this except you guys. I'm fulfilling the law. I'm showing you there is something bigger to think about than all the rules you've made up. There's something bigger. And he was fulfilling that law. He was showing the law of love. God is love. He's not going to condemn you for feeding yourself on a day that somebody has declared special. So it's another way of thinking. So we're not, and often I think when we pray with the heaped up phrases, we're actually breaking the law. We're not fulfilling the law. We're breaking it by thinking that God will hear us if we just say it enough times, if we keep repeating the thing, if we say the affirmations enough. What we do when we are using affirmations, positive statements, is we're trying to bring ourselves into alignment. We're not trying to change the way God behaves. But, that's a lot of what happened in that era where the movie The Secret came out and, all the material around that. It left us with the impression that if you just visualize that Maserati, it'll show up in your living room, if you hold certain visions, and it was sort of all centered on acquiring things. And that's breaking the law. Because if it takes a Maserati to make you feel better about yourself, you will go right back to your old self in about 2 or 3 weeks of driving the Maserati, especially the first time it breaks down. There was a story on the news not too long ago. Somebody had just bought a Maserati and drove down the street and crashed it, just totally demolished it. Probably 150 miles an hour. It'd be fun to do, but I'm not crashing, but driving a Maserati. But I don't really want to own one because I couldn't afford it. I don't want to afford it from that, where that becomes a center of my life or identity. We're breaking the law when we're using things to build ourselves up. I used to do that with music. When I was in high school, I never was a good sports person. I was too small, and there was a society where sports was everything. And so on our senior trip, I was playing my guitar for a group of kids, and this guy walks through the room, and he said, "Would you like a summer job, playing in my nightclub?" And so I became somebody. I became the star, and my music became my identity, and that's what I intended to do. And it took about 5 or 6 years to realize how wrong that was, to use something to make yourself feel better, because it was not making me feel better. I would only feel as good as the success I was having at that moment. And I've done that somewhat with ministry. But it's the time comes when you come back to yourself. You have to come home, and you realize you're not what you do. You're not what you can do. There's something more, and as long as you're grounded in that, then show up and do whatever. But when you're trying to make something, and I had discovered the book Lessons in Truth way back then, and I realized I was trying to use the spiritual principles to make my music succeed. So that's not pure. I'm not using the spiritual principles to wake myself up. I'm using them to try to succeed doing something. And that's not, you can do that, and it's okay to do that, but only if you're real honest with yourself, you'll come to grips with that. And you'll say that, you'll find that no matter how good that is out there, it's never good enough. It never gives you what you're looking for. Only God does that. Only that presence within yourself does that. And it's, we all do it. We all use outer things in some way to give us power. We draw power from them. But the truth is we're supposed to bring power to them. We bring power to whatever it is we're doing. And that's, when we get very honest with ourselves and we start fulfilling the law. So when Jesus points out that the Father knows what we need even before we ask, he's indicating that a lavish abundance has been provided for each one of us. And does that mean a Maserati for everybody? I don't think it means that. It means you. What's provided for you is you. It's your whole self. It's your soul. It's your true essence. That's the lavish abundance. And that's what so often feels like is missing from our life. Why we're trying so hard to get it through outer means. We're looking for the rest of ourselves out there someplace. And that's, we're breaking the law. We're not fulfilling the law. We're breaking it. So to recognize this, that the Father knows our need even before we ask, we need to probably be quiet, to stop asking for anything and say, what is it? What am I looking for? What is this that seems to be missing? What is it that I feel is lacking in my life? And listen and open ourselves to that truth. It's a very natural process. To say with understanding, I'm open and receptive to God's perfect will, puts you in a receptive state of mind that does not require a constant battery of affirmations. Your needs are met on the spiritual level now. Be open to this truth, and your external life will begin to reflect this deeper reality as well. And what I'm doing at this moment is I'm looking at my past. I'm going back and looking at things, and I think that's very important to do sometimes. Take inventory. Why am I here? What brought me to this stage, this place? And it's all choices. It's all individual choices. But I think that's I find it very helpful to do, and I would encourage you if you feel like you're stuck in life, things are not going like you hope they would or wish they would, to do something like this. All right?
You've been watching a talk presented by Reverend Doug Bottorff at Independent Unity here in beautiful Grand Junction, Colorado. We would like to thank everyone who joined us here today, as well as those of you who joined us online. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to our channel, and be sure to share it with those you think who might benefit from this message. If this brought value to your life, please consider donating to us on PayPal. Thanks again for watching.